October 19th. I went out last night and sniffed around the ancient mansion. There were signs of recent work on the place. The smell of fresh-cut lumber, of paint, roofing, but it was locked up tighter than an urn. I couldn't tell whether there was anyone about. I walked home, still feeling relieved that I was done with my corpse dragging. The wind whistled, and the dry leaves blew by me. There were flashes of lightning from off in the good doctor's direction. The thing in the circle said, "French poodle?" when it saw me earlier. Not today. Anything else? Anything at all? I'd sure like to get out and kill and rend. I'm feeling stronger all of a sudden. Your time will come, I told it. The thing in the steamer trunk had poked a small hole in the front. An enormous yellow eye regarded me through it. It didn't make a sound. Snoring noises emerged from the wardrobe in the attic. I paused before the mirror in the hall. The things were all clustered again, rather than slithering, and a close inspection showed they had positioned themselves before a small flaw in the glass, which I hadn't noticed earlier. Had they found a way to create such dimensional flaws in their prison? Still, it was too finite to be of much use to them. I resolved to keep an eye on it, though. I awoke to the crunching sound of wheels, the clopping of horses' hooves, the sounds of several voices, one of them singing in a foreign language. Stretching and stopping for a quick drink of water, I let myself out to see what was going on. It was a fine, crisp morning. Sunlight, breezes, and leaves crunching beneath my feet. A line of caravans was passing on the roadway. Men in sashes, bright headcloths, gypsies, all of them. And walking or driving, headed, I guess, for one of the open areas between us and the city, off in the direction of Larry Talbot's place. "Good morning, Snuff," came a voice from the roadside weeds. "Morning, Quicklime. How you feeling?" "Fine. A lot better than that other day. Thanks for the advice." "Anytime. You headed out any place in particular?" "I was following the gypsies, actually. But this is far enough. We'll get word where they camp by and by." "You think they'll be stopping near here?" "Without a doubt. We've been expecting them for some time." "Something special about them?" "Well, it's common knowledge now that the Count's in the area, so I'm not talking out of class. The Master spent a lot of time in Eastern Europe, where he learned something of his ways. When the Count travels, he's often accompanied by a band of gypsies. Rastov thinks he came here in a hurry when he determined where the locusts would be and then sent for his band." "What function will they serve here?" "Now that we're past the death of the moon, with the power rising, things get dangerous. Everybody seems to know the Count's residing, unless he's established a few more, residences. So someone with a fence picket who's decided the game would be better off without him could end his eligibility. He likely wants his gypsies about to guard his quarters by day." "Good lords," I said. "What?" "I hadn't even thought about the possibility of a player having more than one residence. Do you realize what that would do to the pattern?" No, I hadn't. This is bad, Snuff. If he's got another grave or two somewhere, that throws all the calculations off." "It's good you thought of it, but what do we do?" "My first impulse would be to keep it to myself," I said. "But then I realized we're going to have to cooperate on this. We have to set up a schedule, take turns watching. If he's got another place or places, we've got to find them." "Maybe it would be easier to just stake the guy. It wouldn't solve the problem, though. It'd just make it harder. And if he happens to be your ally, or mine, you could be sacrificing someone who'd make the difference." True. I wish I knew which side you were on. I'm not sure that would be a good idea just yet. We may work together better for not knowing it. Work together? On that guard duty business, you mean? I had a little more in mind for us right now, if you've got time. What do you have in mind? I have to tell you a little bit of my calculations, but that's all right. Rastov has probably duplicated them now. Wait. You? You are the calculator in your pair? That's right. Now, I propose telling you something, and we'll go and check it out. No matter what we find, we'll learn something from it, which would put us a little bit ahead. Of course I'll come. Good. My calculations show that one possible center of the manifestation is the ruined church, near where the Count is making his quarters. I don't know if this is by accident or by design. Either way, it means we can only check by daylight. We better do it now, though, especially if there's going to be gypsy guards around later. What exactly do you want to check? I want you to slither down into the place and see whether it's suitable, whether there's enough left of it for it to be our center. I'm too big to fit down that opening, but I'll stand watch above and let you know if anyone comes by. I'll do it. Let's be on our way. We started out. You'll have to use your imagination, too. It may look bad, but if it could easily be enlarged by, a few men with picks and shovels, tell me. Does that mean that Larry Talbot is a player? Doesn't matter. It's one of the places it might be. What of the others? Let's not get greedy, I said. We made our way through the wood. When we reached the clearing, there were no more gypsies about, nor anyone else. Check the crypt first, I said. You've got me wondering if he's still using it. Quicklime slithered into the opening. A little later, he returned. He's there, he reported. So's Needle. Both of them are asleep. Good. All right, try the church now. I paced about, sniffing the breezes, watching the trees. No one was near. No one approached. In a little while, Quicklime emerged. No, he said. It's a complete disaster. Filled with dirt and rocks. Nothing's left. We'd have to start over again and rebuild. I approached the opening, forced myself in as far as I could. It narrowed quickly to a crack down which he had taken his way. How back far in the crack did you get? 10 feet, maybe. There are 2 sideways off. Neither goes as far. I believed him from what I could see. So, what does it mean? He asked. That this isn't the place. But then what is? I thought quickly. I don't like giving anything to the competition, but in this case, one real fact could be misleading, and it was a fact he'd learn sooner or later. I backed out of the opening, turned towards the woods. Vicar Roberts, I said. He has a good disguise as a fanatic churchman. What do you mean? He's a player. You're joking! No. He holds midnight services to the elder gods right there in the church. The vicar? Check it out, I told him. What does that do to the pattern? I've calculated that if we count the vicar and drop Larry Talbot, that places the vicarage and the church in the center of the pattern. Now, this isn't final if the count is moving around, of course, but that's how it looks right now if we figure that way. The vicar, he repeated. We entered the woods. So, he said after a while, if the Count has a home away from home, we need to find out whether or not they were established before or after the death of the moon. Yes, I agreed. Everything was frozen at that point. Death, relocation, withdrawal of a player, all of these shifted things about only before that time. Afterwards, we can kill each other or move about as we wish. It won't disturb the geometry of the business. If there was a way to get Needle to talk, we could find it out from him. It occurred to me as we passed among the trees that I could be wrong, that I'd just given the correct information, but it seemed to me that the weight of Larry's presence, along with the anticipation business he spoke of, it made him too big of an influence on the game not to count him as a player. Whether he collected ingredients and wove dueling spells, protections, opening spells, closing spells, with him included, along with the vicar, it had to be that old mansion rather than the church. Besides, it wasn't really a bad thing to reveal the vicar for what he was. Others would start doing things to skew his efforts once the word was out. So, what about watching the Count's comings and goings, I asked. Let's hold off on it, Snuff, he hissed. No need to bring the others into this yet. I have a much better idea for finding about how the Count's doings. Even with the gypsies about, I asked. Even so, what have you got in mind? Let me pursue it on my own for a day or two. I promise I'll share it with you after this. In fact, it'd be a good idea. I think you're a better calculator than Rastov. All right, we'll hold off. We parted at the edge of the wood. Him going left, me going right. I made my way back to our place. Did a quick circuit. Found everything in order. Went back inside. You know, it's easy to follow the gypsies' trail since they stuck to the roadway till they neared their destination. It was a field near Larry's place. I lay doggo for an hour or two and watched them set up their encampment. I didn't really learn anything, but it was colorful. Then I heard sounds from the road and turned my attention. An old-fashioned coach was approaching. It was drawn by two tired-looking horses. I dismissed it until it slowed and turned up Larry Talbot's driveway. I quitted my place of concealment and headed that way, just in time to see the coachman help an old woman descend from the vehicle. I moved nearer, passing among a few ancient trees. Upwind of them, as the lady, with the assistance of the blackwood cane, made her way to Larry's front door. She raised the knocker and let it fall. Shortly, Larry opened the door and they spoke briefly. The wind prevented me from making out their words, but after a short while he stepped aside and she entered. Most peculiar. I circled the house to the rear, began peering in the windows. I discovered them to be seated in the parlor, talking. Sometimes later, Larry rose, absented himself briefly, returned with a tray, bearing a decanter and a pair of glasses. He poured, they sipped sherry, and they continued in their discussion. It went on for at least half an hour. Finally, they both rose and departed the room. At last, I located them in the skylighted room, where he grew his plants. They were engaged in an animated discussion with frequent gestures towards the flora. They went on for the better part of an hour before they returned to the parlor for another glass of sherry and another long talk. Then the coachman was summoned, and Larry, loaded up with greenhouse clippings, accompanied her to the coach before he bade her a cordial goodbye. I was torn between following the coach and approaching Larry immediately. As the thing rumbled off, I realized I couldn't contain myself. Foolishly, perhaps, for I can only speak with Jack between midnight and 1. I raced up to him. "Who is that lady?" I asked. He smiled. "Hello, Snuff. How are you?" he said. I repeated my question, hoping his canine spirit granted him some comprehension around the clock. "A delightful lady," he replied. "Name's Linda Enderby, widow of an India officer who died in the mutiny. She and her servant recently moved into an old mansion she's restored near her. City's grown a bit dear for her, far too busy. She was just paying a social call, waiting to meet some of the neighbors. She shares my passion for botany. We had a lively discussion of flowers." "Oh," I said, ordering my thoughts. I was watching the gypsies when she arrived. I guess I assumed everything involves the game these days. "Well, I guess they do somehow. Gypsies and I go way back. I've heard the Countess sometimes associated with them." "There's that, too," he said. "The whole matter will have to be explored soon." "I was concerned about your welfare," I said. "False alarm, Snuff. She's an intelligent and very personable lady. Would you care to come in? I have a beef stew you might... No, thanks, I replied. I have some errands I should be about. Thanks again for your help. No trouble, really. We'll talk again, he said, turning back to the house. Yeah. I walked back slowly, thinking. I'd caught their scents as I'd watched. I knew Linda Enderby and her servant to be the great detective and his companion. Leaves flew by. I caught one in my mouth, spat it out again. The pace was quickening. As I approached my home, there came a soft meow. Gray? Yes. Good. I wanted to talk to you. What a coincidence, she said. I turned and entered the field. She was standing on a spot where the body had first been located. What about? I asked her. I've decided not to play games with you. Ding dong dell, as McCabe said. Oh, well, I thought you should know. When the vicar was out with his searchers, this was the first place he brought them. Oh? Yes. He had to know that the body was here. He wanted them to find it. He wanted them to focus their investigation on Jack. How interesting. And how else would he know unless he'd been a party to it? Snuff, the vicar's behind it. Thank you. You're welcome. I told her where the gypsies were. She'd already seen them go by, so I told her, too. We'd a new neighbor named Linda Enderby, who'd been by to visit Larry. Yes, she said, I've met her. She was also by to visit the mistress earlier. Charmed her completely. They share an interest in herbs and gourmet cooking. Jill's a gourmet cook? Yes, come back later. I'll see you get some choice selections. I'd like to do that. In fact, I'd like to collect you later anyhow. I want your help on an investigation. Of what? I had to tell her the truth if I wanted her help. So I told her of my conclusions on the hilltop, the ring of stones, the day's adventures, and of quicklime speculations on the gypsies, along with the other things I'd learned about the vicar, and of my conclusions concerning the mansion. I told her everything except that the great detective had come to town and had set up housekeeping in that place. I also didn't tell her I could talk to Larry Talbot and get an answer any time. I found a broken basement window, I continued. It was big enough for a cat to slip in through easily. And you want me to go inside and see whether there's a chapel? Yes. Of course I will. I have to know too. When should I come by? Just after dark. I wandered for a little while then, organizing my thoughts. My wanderings took me past the church, and a large albino raven regarded me, pink-eyed from its peak. Circling the place outside for the sake of completeness, I saw the rotund coachman feeding his horses out back. Linda Enderby was paying a visit to the vicar.